That's what she said. All right. Hello, everyone. This is another installment of The Persistent Rumor. I am Chocolate Yoda, spelled Yoddah, because film studios are litigious. And with me, as always, is my heterosexual life mate, Chancleta.
That is I, Sir Yoda.
Oh,
Yoda.
Thank you. Oh, sir. Sir Yoda. I pronounce it Yoda. I spell it Yada. I don't know what I'm doing. I just don't want George Lucas to sue me.
I hear you. He doesn't own it anymore. You'd be dealing with Disney now. It's a whole shit
That's
show.
even worse.
Yeah.
Disney's lawyers are animals. So
yeah.
Thank you for putting the fear
ravenous.
In me. All right. So what's happening, man? So I'll tell you what's on my mind. This is one of the things that's on my mind, but I would say that it's foremost on my mind is the Greek tragedy level embarrassment of Rudy Giuliani.
Did you see the Just for Men gate?
Yes. Is that what you did? I have despised this man for decades. He was the one that people read headlines and they're like, oh, he cleaned up New York. I'm like, well, not really. He juked the stats and he shipped homeless people out and all that stuff. But, he gets credit as a DA. He gets some credit as a mayor, but he wasn't this mythological figure that people want to draw him out to be. And I think now people are seeing that. He's insane. He is, I'm not a doctor. I just play one in my mother's fantasies, but I do believe that he is clinically insane. I think the pressure of lying for Donnie Dump has just become too much for him. What he is doing, what he has been doing over the past few weeks. I mean, he's been doing this the whole time in terms of the mendacity that he's been engaging in. It's the whole time Dump's been in office, but this speed round of insanity for the last 2 weeks has just been outrageous. I mean, I can't imagine how you could feel any sense of dignity doing the things that you're doing right now. You know, you're spinning these wild, like it's so bad that the law firm that was running Dump's campaign just said, yeah, we're not doing this. Because why would you shove Giuliani? Look, Giuliani was a lawyer, but he wasn't an election lawyer. So this is not his area. And you're just going to shove him into the deep waters of this insane conspiracy. And he's going to eat it up like it's all true. Like he is behaving as if this is all true. As if there are, and they can't even get their fucking story straight. By the way, I'm not talking about between the different members of this farcical legal team that they have going on. I mean, within themselves, they can't get the story straight. I saw Giuliani and that other evil chick contradict themselves in back-to-back sentences because they're both trying to keep the same talking points. So they're saying, election officials couldn't get close enough to observe the voting and the count, but we know that all sorts of illegal shit happened. Well, which is it? Because if you couldn't get close enough, then you couldn't see any illegal shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's all bullshit. And, people are eating it up, and that's just what it is, and it's sad. I mean, like, everything's just falling apart at the seams here, and it just seems that, like, there's a group of people that completely buy into this shit, and another set of people that just absolutely don't, and there's no middle ground. I haven't heard anybody go,
because
well,
there really
maybe
isn't,
they got something.
There really isn't a middle ground between sanity and insanity. Like, no one's a little bit insane. Yeah. No one's a little bit fantastical. These people are not dealing in facts. They are just screaming things that have no basis on anything. Like, not one shred of evidence has been presented by any of the lawyers in any of the courts, because they can't. Because once, and you mentioned this in a previous podcast, but once you get to the line of perjury, you have to stop if you want to keep your license. So once the judge says, what's your evidence, you have to, as the lawyers have done, you have to say, there isn't any. I have disliked Giuliani for a long time, decades, because, you know, in the 90s, he decided to, quote unquote, clean up New York and turn it into Disneyland. That wasn't the thing that really bothered me, even though it did bother me that he was on the board of all these companies that were trying to get into New York City. So there was already some shady stuff going on there. But it was his behavior after 9/11, which was the worst thing. It was just awful watching him. Like, he joined the Iran study group, right? Never attended, not once. He was always out making money on public speeches. And when he blamed American soldiers for the stockpile of weapons that went missing, I was like, all right, you know, that's just, it's too much now. It's too much now. You're going to blame soldiers for that? Are you fucking kidding me? You know? So he's just been a piece of shit for a long time. And the fact that he's just willing to lie all the time, and he's too intelligent a man to not know that he's lying. He knows he's lying. Yeah. And he just, right now, he just comes off as an insane person.
He's starting to look like the Penguin. And not like, like Danny DeVito Penguin, you know what I mean? Like, just this, like, just weird. Like, and he just looks like a old henchman, and it just, and he speaks like one, and he just seems violent. Always has had that, like, sort of creepy vibe to him. Like, I've met him in person, or no, I shouldn't say met him. I've seen him in person. I worked at Old Navy when I was younger, and he came in to shop at one of the stores that I worked at, and it was like a public, while he was mayor of New York City, it was like a public, photo op thing. And, he just had like a creepy vibe to him. It was just a weird thing. He has an enormous head. Like, I can't even quantify that. Like, but it's just weird. And I've never really liked him as far as, when he was mayor of New York City and I was living in New York City, but I totally get where you're coming from, man. And he's just, and I'm thinking it's Rudy Giuliani and Trump. I don't think it's like Trump convincing Rudy Giuliani to check on this. Like, I think part of it is Rudy Giuliani just gearing him towards doing that. Cause I really don't think that Trump is intelligent enough to know how to maneuver this to his benefit.
Well, he's not intelligent enough for that, but he's intelligent enough to try. Giuliani's his lawyer. So yes, he's sicking his lawyer on the American voting system, being completely unpatriotic, being a hypocrite. Look at what he said when he lost the popular vote in 2016, but won by the same exact numbers that he lost by now. What was he saying then? What was he saying in 2016? This is a huge victory, a landslide, right? And now it's all fake. It's all fake news. Well, here's the irony. I read a statement from someone in Pennsylvania. I forget who exactly, whether it was an election official or something like that, that said, Dump actually shot himself in the foot by discouraging people not to vote by mail, because he lost 24,000 votes that he normally would have gotten if it hadn't been for that. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And by the way, this is why I was never concerned about the idea of a civil war or the idea of a coup. It's like, look, Dump has proven to be good at one thing and one thing only, and that is stealing from the Treasury. All right. He and his cohorts, and it wasn't him, of course, because he's way too stupid for this, but it was his cohorts, his criminal gang that he hired on for that purpose. This is what they wanted to do the whole time, and they did it. So congratulations to them. If you think of any other thing that Dump has attempted to do, it's been a fucking disaster. So there's no way he was going to coordinate a coup. There's no way he was going to coordinate an upset at the ballot box. He doesn't know what he's doing. You know, there's I mean, it is beyond laughable. When I read some of the transcripts of the exchanges between judges and lawyers for Dump, if it wasn't such a damaging thing to democracy, it would really be something from an Onion article. You know, was there someone there representing DJT in the polling place? Yes. What's the problem?
Right.
Like, yeah. The judges are like, what do you know, and here's the real problem. The real problem is that it's our tax dollars that are paying for these lawyers to open these bullshit cases. That's the real problem.
And he's like 0 for 32 on all these cases.
Of course, because how do you go? You might as well have gone to court saying unicorns raped my mother.
Right.
Because you would have been able to produce as much evidence as you have for that.
Right. And it's like, well, it's like, oh, got better. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like watching Monty Python. It really is. It's insanity. But you know, I can't tell you how many times the last 4 years I have read an article and I did a double take and checked where it was coming from because I swore it was The Onion or some sort of like parody. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was like, this has to be satire.
I've had that happen so many times. I see a headline and I am expecting to see that it's from The Onion, and it's like, oh my God, this is the New York Times reporting on this. Yeah,
just like that. And The Onion has to go like so hard now.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's
ridiculous. The last year, the articles, or I should say the headlines from The Onion in the last year have been just shot out of a cannon, because that's where they have to go to create parody and sarcasm in an environment where it's all sarcasm and parody. I mean, it's so crazy.
Yeah. Because how do you create distinction in a world where it's all parody at this point? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's really the hard reality. And I at one point said, I think The Onion might go out of business. Like, it's like, it's like, what do you know what I mean? Like, what, you have to wait till the next president comes around and, you know, hopefully like you get back in your stride. Like, it's ridiculous.
So, here, let's play a game. Onion article or real article. Here's the headline. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. I think I'll remember it correctly enough. White House party planned, though COVID is spiking to record highs.
Right. Yeah. Hard to tell. That sounds like The Onion, but just because I know that you know that I read that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, but
that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like this is so. I mean, at the height of the first wave, and just in case someone's watching this 100 years from now, we're talking about the coronavirus pandemic. We were seeing about 1,500 people die a day.
Right. And
now it's at 2,000. Like, what was the last 8 fucking months for? Why did people have to wait outside as their loved ones died on a hospital bed? Why did the economy have to be flushed down the toilet after we had just dug out from under the last time the economy was flushed down the toilet in 2008, thanks to another Republican asshole? Why are, I'm going on a first date and I gotta get tested for coronavirus, and so does my date, just so we could maybe hug when we see each other. Like, this is just insanity. What was this all for? And I don't even care about my little part of the world. I'm fine. I don't care about masks and gloves and shit, just like I don't care about wearing coats when it's really cold or wearing a seatbelt when I get in the car. These are just things you do because they make fucking sense. Yeah. So I don't, none of it is inconvenient to me. Nothing's a problem to me. It's just a new thing. It's like, okay, here was life in 2019. 2020 is life with this extra added thing. And probably for the next 2 or 3 years, this is how we're going to have to live our lives. And I don't care what they say about the vaccines. I will only take those fucking things after I feel 100% comfortable about it, because this is way too fast for the normal cycle of developing a vaccine.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That,
a lot can go wrong.
Yeah. The old saying, haste makes waste, that doesn't even fucking prepare you for this situation. Because if they get this wrong, holy shit, what devastation is that going to cause?
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know what I mean? Because that'll be much worse. Like, let's say we get, 80% of the population, and that's being generous. But let's say you get 80% of the population on this vaccine and everything, and all of a sudden it's like everybody starts walking around like, okay, we're cute. We don't have to worry about coronavirus anymore. Oh, but wait. And right, like, there could be so many things. We don't know the long-term effects of just catching the coronavirus has. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and we know what the short-term effects are, and the short-term effects are pretty fucking horrible. Right. And I've heard that a lot of the effects are permanent,
Yeah. So it's like, for me, it's like, it's kind of like, oh, if you caught the chicken pox when you were younger, you'll probably get rickets when you're older. Like, wow, really? Like, that's ridiculous to me. So something's living in your body. And when you you start getting old, suddenly it turns into something else. That sounds ridiculous to me.
Yeah. By the way, Chancleta is clearly not a doctor either.
No, not at all. But this is shit that happens. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are the things that I'm concerned about. So it's like, when somebody's telling me wear a fucking mask, wear a mask. It's a doctor. They practice science. Why are you listening to some buffoon in a suit?
And it's not just a doctor. It's the doctor.
It's the doctor.
So, but this is all just fuel for the fire that I have. What was that?
My liberties are at stake. Suck a nut, dude. What the fuck?
You have to wear a helmet in most states when you ride a motorcycle. You have to wear a seatbelt, I believe, in all states. Maybe not. I think maybe Rhode Island, you might not have to wear a seatbelt. But, I was wearing a seatbelt 7 years before the seatbelt law was enacted, because I respect physics, and it makes sense as a safety precaution. Like, we do so many things that are safety precautions. I don't understand. Like, there's no context that I either can imagine or that I've heard anyone share who is in opposition to wearing masks that makes any sense at all. Like, not one, not even a little bit of sense. Like, oh, all these rules. I'm like, well, I was walking into this store before the pandemic, and the rule was no shirt, no shoes, no service. Mm-hmm. Of course, they didn't say anything about pants, and that does cause a stir once in a while.
I get you.
But
I hear you.
seriously, like you live in a world that has rules, tons of rules, thousands and thousands of laws that you live under, and it hasn't even gotten to the level of law yet. It was just something you were asked to do. Right. Not only for your benefit, but for the benefit of your fellow citizens. And that's really when we got to learn who the real patriots are. I don't consider myself a patriot, but I do care about my fellow human beings. I didn't want to give this to anybody. I'm pretty strong. I have an excellent immune system. My doctor tells me I'm very healthy. Okay, great. I am sort of in that age range. I'm in the beginning of the age range where getting COVID would be dangerous, but that wasn't the thing I was worried about the most. Right. I was worried about, could I give it to, someone that I was dating? Could I give it to a friend? This is practical shit. My son and I don't even hug anymore because it's like, we're just trying to be cautious.
And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, like we're going to have Thanksgiving dinner at my mom's, and it's just going to be like 6 of us. You know what I mean? Like, just, hey, look, whatever. And people we don't normally get around, but, these are my close family. I know what they've been doing, and we're still taking precautions. We're still going to go there with a mask, and we're still going to go there and, like eat in turns. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not, we're just, we're going to eat apart from each other, but just to be together. Right. Like,
and that's responsible. That's safe. And that's not hard to do. It's inconvenient. Yes, it's not the norm, but
it's for the greater good.
It wasn't the norm. Now it is the fucking norm. So people need to get over it.
And I honestly think that the biggest failing that Trump, I think the biggest crime as far as this is concerned is Trump when it was originally started, and and Fauci and doctors recommended wearing masks and socially distancing. Trump immediately went, no, I mean, it's a suggestion. You don't have to wear it. I'm not going to wear it.
Because he's not a leader. He's not. This is what we were all warning about. This is a fucking reality game show host and fake businessman. Yeah. Okay.
And so he just wanted to be a tough guy. And so his followers were like, yeah, that's right. Well, I'm not going to wear it. It's just a suggestion. Like, and that is the biggest problem. Like, had Trump said, yeah, I think, let's listen to the doctor, and said everything else could have gone the way it did. And honestly, like, I think he would have won the election if he just did that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because that was a miserable failing.
Here's the thing. I would add one more thing to that, because it wasn't just his mishandling of the coronavirus in terms of the health consequences. It was also his mishandling of the economy.
Yeah.
Because, this is the weird thing, is that because states can just bebop and scat all over the place and do their own thing, in the absence of leadership, then all of the states have to fend for themselves. Dump created a bidding war for PPE because he was too lazy or stupid to, handle that aspect of it. So between, 250,000 Americans dying, and that's not even going to be the total figure, and all of these people out of work and businesses closed. I heard recently that it's like 40% of small businesses closed. Do you understand how long it's going to take to recover from that? It might not happen in my lifetime if the persistent rumor is true that I'm going to die, which I'm not convinced it is, by the way.
I think that it's just really good that the situation is the way it is now. He's going to be leaving office January 20th. He's going to keep trying for the coup,
Man, there's nothing. There's as what was it? Rumsfeld said, "There's no there." There's no coup. There's no attempted coup. There's just a fucking bratty asshole that can't accept that he was humiliated.
It's comical at this point, and it's dangerously comical.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things America is famous for is the peaceful transition of power. And now he even shat on that.
Yeah. I feel like, I think I'm talking too loud. I feel like, it's resonating through my ear. I feel that there are times when there's always been times when things have been bad, right? Like, it's either on the Democrat side or the Republican side. Like, for the last, as long as I've been following politics, I should say, so maybe since the Reagan era, the trickle-down economy was being thrown at us. And
wait,
it's like,
you were following politics since the Reagan era? That makes no sense.
No, but it's what I know of. That's when I started following. Like that's what I was alive and like cognitive around the Reagan era.
Really? You were 3 years old when Ronald Reagan got elected.
I got older.
So
anyway,
so your point is about the trickle down economy idea,
right? So as long as I've known about politics, I don't even know much about Carter's administration or anything before that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm just talking about the things that I've learned through history. But Reagan is where I started, right? And so Reagan is that's where the trickle down economics came down. And ever since then, it's just like we've had all these trials, and it never panned out. Like the rich got richer, and the money never trickled down. It's
40 years of this bullshit,
and so we're still, there are still people like pushing that agenda, and it's like ridiculous. It's like it's not working.
But okay, so you're 100% right, but your tone suggests that these people don't know that it's not working, because it is working. It's working for them. The trickle-down economy is based on giving money to wealthy people. This is what they want. This is how they raid the treasury. Right. They do it two ways. They do it through these outrageous economic policies, like what we saw in the stimulus package this year. This was trillions of dollars given away to big businesses for nothing. And let me ask you a question. What private industry, because the Republicans love private industry, right? Mm-hmm. Where have they been in all this? Have you heard any big company taking the lead on coronavirus? No.
Nope.
Because all they did was take the money, and they still laid people off.
Right.
That's what they did. Or they bought, or they did stock buybacks. Fucking horseshit. These people are disgusting. It's not that they're incompetent. It's not that they don't know. This is not a glitch. It is a feature. I'm trying to talk to Chancleta in technical terms so that he understands what I mean.
I feel you, baby. That's it. You sexy. You sexy when you use jargon.
But for real, it's not. And by the way, I fell into this for a minute. I fell into the idea of, oh my God, they're incompetent. And then I was like, wait, they're not incompetent. These people are well-educated people. These people have decades of experience in government. And they've been, if you look at the history of the ecosystem in Washington, it's the politicians, it's the lobbyists, it's the consultants, it's the military-industrial complex, right? And it's big business. When you look at this ecosystem, what you see, and by the way, we saw it as recently as like a day or two ago, and I'll get to that in a moment, but what you see is these people that have been trading chairs. You know, they leave the military and become part of a lobbyist group. They leave Congress and go into a think tank. You know, like this is or they leave the Senate and go into a huge law firm. You know,
this is the thing. Yeah, this is the thing I get on about. Like people, like, you know how many times I've heard something like, oh, Biden only made like so and so money between blah up to 2016, and then after 2016, in 2 years he made like $1 million and change. I'm like, that happens with almost every president and vice president. Like, you know how much these guys get paid just for talking?
Of course,
like they get paid tons of money just to go on go do a seminar over here, write a book. Like, you know how much money Obama's making just off his book deal?
But anyone that says stuff like that just doesn't really know anything. But so let's get to the example that I referenced earlier, right? So have you seen who Biden put up as his EPA chief for the transition?
I did not.
A former DuPont consultant.
How fun.
So that's already it's just same as it ever was, bro. This is what people have to accept. It's not going to change because too many people make money off this shit. This is the way wealthy people and business people and the government has always been structured. You've had pockets where it was different, but wealthy people are always going to get their pound of flesh. You know, FDR created a different paradigm for the economy, and he created the longest sustained era of prosperity in America, right? Yeah. So aside from that, though, that was essentially the anomaly, right? Because every other time it's been what the fuck we're seeing now. As soon as I found out that about his EPA pick, I was just like, all right, well, this is exactly what I was saying. This is the game, and the game is not going to change because the players make too much fucking money at it. Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's really like a corporate oligarchy. That's really what we're living. Like, people are worried about, we're not, I don't want to live in a socialist country. I'm like, you don't even know what socialism is. But it's just a lot of back and forth, and I'm quite tired of it. Like,
I think when I edit this, I might put the word sigh over my head as I as I coordinate with the sound I just made, because it's really just this thing with socialism. But it was also Bernie Sanders' biggest mistake, trying to brand what he was doing democratic socialism. It's like, read the room, Bernie. Americans are scared of the word socialism, even though a huge chunk of their society is centered around socialist functions, but whatever.
And that's all. And that's what everything's been called since. Anything that's been scary to either side, that's socialist, because socialism has a bad connotation in this country.
When you say either side, what do you mean?
So, like, if when anybody brings up anything as far as changing, healthcare reform, immigration, these are things that people throughout history have always used that word socialism to sort of deflect that this isn't going to work, that isn't going to work.
Yeah, but it's not either side, though. It's definitely not either side.
It's mostly the Republicans. Yes, it's mostly the Republicans.
It's exclusively the Republicans.
Yeah,
I mean, at least in probably the last 50 or so years, maybe before that. I mean, because the Republicans love to hang their hat on the fact that Lincoln, was a Republican, but it's like, hey, maybe get a reference that's not 150 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because then it was like, Republicans used to be a little bit more liberal. And
it all switched. So if we're talking about your lifetime and my lifetime, it's not Democrats that are using the word socialism to scare anybody. It's the Republicans doing that. And by the way, I don't have any skin in the game of these vowel sounds of Republican or Democratic. Like I said, I don't like Biden. I haven't liked Biden for a long time. What it is, though, is that now that he's president, which I think is an amazing thing, just thinking about his life story, it is a rather amazing end to his story to finally culminate in becoming president of America. And I respect him for that. However, I don't like some of the choices that he's made in the past. I don't like that he signed the bills that led to mass incarceration. I don't like that he voted for the Iraq War. However, I have to be fair and balanced about it and look at the totality of his career as a politician. And although in many ways he's a typical politician, in many ways he's not, and he has done mostly the right thing. So, excuse me, had it not been for the dire circumstances, I wouldn't have felt that he was a good candidate. But as I've said before, right now, having someone in the mix that has successful experience with handling pandemics, this is what has to be. I'm definitely upset about the EPA pick. I think that's boneheaded, but it's not like I didn't see that coming.
Right. And it can't be any worse than the current EPA pick. So
it can't be any worse than anything. I have a feeling that even the janitor at the White House now is probably incompetent. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing that came out of this administration that benefited the majority of Americans. Not one single thing. Now, that is not to be confused with nothing good coming out of the administration. As I mentioned, he did sign a bill that helped veterans. Great. But there's so few things that came in the plus column, and so many things that are just so horrendous for too many people, that this is an administration that has to be flushed down the drain of history. It needs to be like that guy that betrayed Leonidas in the Spartan thing. Yeah. Well, no, not the guy who did it in the film. I'm talking about real life, you son of a bitch. No, but yeah. So Leonidas was betrayed by a guy, and my understanding is that Greeks use the name of that guy as like a curse now. And I think that's where Dump should go, in the trash heap of history, as just a black mark that can never be erased. It really did happen, against all odds, against all logic, against all reason. This fucking idiot became president of America and just shit the bed in the most outrageous way possible.
You know how we call the toilet the John? Maybe we could start calling it the Donald. We'll start that trend right here. Hit like and subscribe.
I love it. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's it. From now on, it's like,
I call him Dump because of that kind of thing. I like the illusion that word creates. Like, I'm going to go take a dump. The dumps are where you put your garbage. But yeah, I would love to associate his name with just anything foul. It's just such a, as I said, I don't see how historians 500 years from now are going to wrap their heads around this. How are people going to understand that this was a real thing that happened?
I mean, Nazi Germany happened, But
that actually makes more sense. That Nazi Germany makes more sense to me, and this is why. It's not the only time that's happened in history. It's happened many times.
Right.
And I didn't even count the genocides from pre-World War II, but since World War II, there's been 26 genocides. So that's a thing that people do. I hate it. Yeah. It's disgusting. It's awful, but it makes sense because it's human nature. It's a thing that people do. This presidency, quote unquote, because I have never referred to him as president, but the fact that he got into the Oval Office makes no sense to me. It's completely illogical.
I get it. I just, I don't know how to make heads or tails about it. Honestly, I don't know why it happened. I was just as shocked as you were when he won.
Right, and 4 years later, there's still no way to contextualize it. There's no way to wrap your head around it. Like here's what would have been best case scenario. He would have shocked the shit out of us and done the right thing. That would have been spectacular. I would have been pleased to go online and say, hey, everybody, I was fucking wrong as wrong could be.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, when he won,
not only was I right, I was 100 times more right than I thought I was going to be.
And it's terrible. Like, that's exactly the point. Like, when he won, I was like, well, let's just hope for the best. Maybe, there's some ulterior motive there that'll benefit all of us.
Grow into the job. That's what some people said.
Right. Something like that. We all,
it's
you gotta hope for the best.
It's not that kind of fucking gig.
Yeah, right, exactly. But once the damage is done, then you just go, well, I mean, look, let's hope for the best. Maybe something good will come out of it. Because what can I do at that point except be positive?
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. And then it's like day after day, just like it was like, I can't believe this. This dude is just like crazy. Like
it is an assault to the senses that never ends. And close to the election, I started doing the thing that I don't normally do, which is indulge in news. And it was something that I had to limit severely, because when you start reading what's going on, you go, how could this be happening? You know, and I think that since you referenced Nazi Germany earlier, I have a feeling that there were a lot of people that felt the same way while it was happening. Like, there had to be people looking around going, what is this? How could this be happening? You know, but it's a thing that people do. But
and of course there were. I mean, there were people
doesn't add up. None of the here's what makes it really, really hard for me to understand. So you had Clinton, who forget about his controversies and shit like that. And quite frankly, we knew he was a pussy hound before we went into the voting booth. I mean, this was well established. Okay.
I didn't know anything of it, but yeah, I at the time I didn't, but afterwards, yes, I found out. But go ahead.
Yeah. So again, your story about when you started following politics is slipping away again. But the point is that for the people who followed politics and knew about him as governor, and I knew a tiny bit about him as governor, not much, because I really only started paying attention when his name was mentioned as a contender, right?
Right.
So once he gets on your radar, it becomes really fucking obvious that this guy loves pussy, right?
Sure.
And he doesn't limit his pussy to his wife's pussy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
who knows?
And there was no mistaking that. There was no pleading ignorance. Like, that was beyond the shadow of a doubt. Okay. So when you eliminate that aspect, which is just, to me, that's jibber jabber. It has nothing to do with anything. Like, I didn't vote for husband and father. I voted for fucking president. So that, you know, it's unfortunate that his wife and daughter had to deal with that, but that is the extent of the damage as far as that shit. But the guy came in and did something spectacular, which was balance the budget and eliminate the deficit. That's just, especially after what Reagan did, this is nothing short of quasi-miraculous, okay? Mm-hmm. So then we get the Bush the Dumber, you know, just shockingly incompetent, takes everything that Clinton had done and fucking dismantles it, okay? Right. Leaves us in a fucking recession an inch away from a depression. Okay. And some people would argue that we actually were in a depression, but whatever. That's a debate for another time. But how do we go from the competency of Bill Clinton? And of course, he did some fucked up things. He did some stupid things. NAFTA was dumb. He admits it. Mass incarceration was dumb. He admits it. Although he does have one point about mass incarceration, which everyone was begging him to do that, including black folks. Yeah. But whatever. How do we go from that prosperity and then go get plunged back into darkness through Bush, then get resurrected again through Barack Obama, and then go, yeah, let's take a chance on this fucking nitwit. Like, I said nitwit. Let's take a chance. Let's just roll the dice on a complete unknown with zero governmental experience, with very little success in his life, except being shot out of the right set of testicles. You know, like, I mean, sure, why not? You know, we almost went bankrupt and almost bankrupted other countries in the process, since, you know, America is the first domino, and we plunged the entirety of planet Earth to the brink, you know. Yeah. And how do we go from that? Is it just a cycle of, you know, convenience leads to softness? Like, it gets good and then you forget why it was bad. Like, why don't adults have better fucking memories? Why aren't they smarter? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I mean, there's poor people like arguing, for the estate tax, like people living in
against the estate tax,
yeah. Right? These are people that never have to worry about that, but there are people that constantly vote against their interests. I don't understand why anybody other than white males are voting for fucking Republicans. Like, if you're not a rich white male,
thank you for putting that modifier on it.
Yeah. If you're not a rich white male, I have no idea why you're voting for a Republican. It just and listen, there may be a Republican that you can jive with, in some maybe local community or something like that. Like, I'm talking at the federal level.
There probably are some, because remember, the only thing that we get fed is what the conventions feed us. Sure. So I'm sure there's plenty of very reasonable, very moderate Republicans. I think we can see that in their voting record, right? But they're not the ones that get pushed front and center when it comes to running things. And you know why that is? It's what I said earlier. It's the way the game is run. They don't want reformers. If they wanted a reformer, Bernie Sanders would have been president 20 years ago. Okay? Because that and his vision, his competency, his compassion are all the reasons why he never became president. Because he upset the orthodoxy. They knew that this was a guy that really could actually change the game. And what'd they do? Get rid of him.
Right. Yeah. The aristocracy does not like you. Yeah. It's what it is.
Again, there's the propaganda, then there's the reality of it. The propaganda is so powerful that even people suffering under the decisions of awful human beings still choose the propaganda over the reality of their suffering. I mean, you see people at these like marches and shit, like, the MAGA march that happened in DC recently, which was like, talk about fucking premature ejaculation. I mean, it was, that was just embarrassing, fucking that psycho witch not news chick, the spokesperson, she was like, oh, there were 1 million people there. It's like, there were barely 10,000 people at this thing.
Yeah. I think the estimate was something like 18 grand, but still.
Oh, I haven't heard that. All the estimates I heard were way under that.
Again, this is the thing. Like I you know what I mean? Like it depends on where you're reading stuff. Like,
I go to the horse's mouth. The people that run that segment and run those events, they're the ones that provide the final count. And I think it was like, 10 or 12,000, some shit like that. Whatever it was paltry. That's embarrassing. That this is your moment. This is when you're gonna, exercise your patriotism and show how much you want to support a loser. And it was like, it just ran down your knuckles.
and it's just, they people just can't accept it. And
imagine being with a hot chick, and I know that you and I have had the opportunity to be with hot chicks in the past, and of course you're married to one, but imagine the first time you get with a hot chick, and she's laying on the bed, her legs are spread, she's lubed up, and you're ready to go. And you unzip your pants and you're like, "Duh!"
Yeah.
That's what the MAGA march was.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's like, hey, you want a sandwich? It's ridiculous. It's like, but that I think that is the culmination of his administration, right?
Of course,
like that is,
it's so emblematic of everything that he's done.
So
and by the way, guess what's coming up soon? On January 20th, we're going to see every single news station, maybe even Fox, show the crowd size 4 years ago and the crowd size on that day on January 20th, because you know it's going to be huge. Even if it's 20 below zero, that crowd size is going to be fucking enormous, right? And you know,
I don't think so, only because of the pandemic.
I don't know, man. You could be right, that could be a factor, but I don't know. People don't really seem to fucking pay too much mind to that shit. So I have a feeling it's going to be a huge crowd.
I think it's more Republicans that don't pay attention to that.
That could be. That could be. That's a fair point.
And quite honestly, I think that many Democrats voted for Biden as a sort of Hail Mary kind of thing. Like, it was just like, all right, you know, break in case of emergency, break glass.
I mean, listen, it was a one horse race for Democrats, you know, God damn it, I'm imploding. I said this and I meant it. If they had nominated a bag of wet rocks, I would have voted for the rocks, man. Like, you know, there was no way that, and again, I don't care about Democrat or Republican. If the RNC had decided not to back Dump and back someone competent, I would have easily considered that person, because that's all I'm looking for. I don't care if there's an R. I don't care if there's a D in front of your fucking name. I just care about your competency. Now, at this point, by the way, the Republican Party is lost. So, and it's evidenced by the fact that they backed this guy and continued to back this guy. When the impeachment happened, that could have been the end of him. If Republicans had had any fucking balls at that point, they had an opportunity to vote this cocksucker out, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So they're lost. So chances are, I'll never vote for Republican. There was a time in the past where I could easily consider a Republican candidate, but not anymore. There's no way.
Yeah, it's, you know, they've all, with few exceptions, but they're all either silent on it or really pushing. And I think that the ones that are silent are just sitting there hoping that once the dust settles, that, you know, they can maneuver in whatever direction they want. And just like you mentioned last show with what's that lady's name that ran for president? Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard. Yes. Thank you. So Tulsi Gabbard, just like when she voted present, you know, in Senate, it was just like that one thing where it's like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're doing nothing. And because you decided to take that stance, I can't side with you anymore. Right. And that's the same thing that I see with Republicans. It's like you're deciding to just take a seat on the sidelines and wait to see what happens. And to me, it's just like, no, take a position, decide where you want to be, whether you want to be in the wrong or the right side of history. And I value that more, no matter what it is. I respect that more than somebody who just waits out on the sideline. Yeah. I'm sorry, but you have to have an opinion on it. You have to have some sort of, you know, this is your job. That's your job. Your job is to legislate. Your job is to, you know, to lead for the most part.
But the question is, for whom? Are they? Is their job really about the American people? It never has been.
No, not really. I mean, George Carlin said it best, right? Like, you know, we talked about that. This isn't even a politics show, and this is how crazy we are about this shit. That it's like, I think we've been at this almost an hour, and we're talking about politics. Like, you know, it's what it is, because it's just so bizarre. Yeah. You know, that we're living in this situation, and it's like, why are there people there's still people going around thinking that this is a hoax?
I'm still waiting for the Carlin reference.
The Carlin reference where he did his stand-up, and he was like, you know, the president just is there to give you the illusion that you have choice.
Yeah, that wasn't his quote. That was close, though. He said, government is there to give you the illusion of democracy.
Yes, to give you the illusion of democracy. That's what it is.
And guess what? When you go back and look at the shit that Carlin said 30, 40 years ago, it was all right. It was all completely true. He was accurate. The quote I read last time from James Madison, that's what the role of the government is to protect wealthy people. Yeah. Okay, that's it. And guess what? And look at it this way. When you look at the donor pool, where the money comes from, all these hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to run all of these campaigns at the national and the local level, it comes from roughly 200,000 people in America, right?
Right.
So if those are the people paying for your campaign, if those are the people that are the reason why you got elected, well, when they come to you and say, hey, I need a little something, what are you going to do? You can tell them no? So that means that there's just a few families in America that politicians work for. The rest of us are fucked.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you give me $1 million, right? And I mean you give me $1 million, and the purpose of that is to, run some office or whatever. You're my boss.
Right.
Right. That's the way it is. You're giving me $1 million. Wow, you've completely reshaped my life. This is great. I got the gig I wanted. We're good. Great, man. You're doing a great job. Hey, Jose, I need you to do this for me. No problem, boss. That's the way it works.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
And there would only be one request.
I understand. I'm waiting for it.
I'll just be like, hey, remember that $1 million? Well, it's time to get banged in the ass.
That's it. Flying bicycle, here we come. The throbbing bicycle.
Damn it.
Look that up on Urban Dictionary.
I'm fucking up all over the place. Yeah, that is it. I remember when you first showed me that like 15 plus years ago. Some funny shit.
I'm too big for that. I think at my size, it's premeditated murder at this point. But look it up. It's fun stuff. Yeah.
No, throbbing bicycle, you would absolutely kill whoever you did that to.
Yeah, if I pulled it off, absolutely.
Here's the thing. I think even if you missed it would still be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man. And let me tell you something. Thankfully I don't have a big enough place where I can pull that off either. Yeah. Like you know what I mean? It's like there's no, you know what I mean? Like there's not like anywhere that I can ride a bike inside.
I'm going to have to put a link to it in the description just because that's just too delightful.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of my favorite. That one and the what was the other one? The Alabama or I forgot. I'll look another one up and I'll come. It was
There's
one where
so many.
There's so many. It's just ridiculous. Like it all started with the Dirty Sanchez and it just went into this rabbit hole where I was like, wow, this is amazing.
The Dirty Sanchez, the Rusty Trombone, all that shit, man.
Yeah, the Birmingham Booty Call. That's the one. The Birmingham Booty Call was fucking fantastic. I said, wow.
Yeah, there's also the Pirate. There's all sorts of stuff.
It's crazy. You know what's really intriguing to me? Like the different categories of porn. Like it's because, right? Like if you dive into a rabbit hole,
this took a turn I was not expecting. All right, let's get into it.
I'm done with politics, man. It just
so go ahead.
Just puts me in a
no. I mean, even based on going from Dirty Sanchez to this, that was a turn I didn't see coming.
Yeah, well, it's all sexual related, sure. But I always find it fascinating when I'm scrolling through like porn categories, and one that's really popular now. It's like, banging like stepsisters or stepmoms or something like that.
By the way, that's not new either.
No, but
my God, dude! One of the most popular porn series when porn was shot like a film was Taboo. It was all about incest. That's going back to the 80s.
Wow,
I think it might even be the 70s.
I remember when there were like porn theaters where you could go out. There might be some around that I'm not privy to, but there were like a lot of theaters that you would go to and watch, you know, pornos, like porno films, like where there was a plot and shit. Like I was like, wow, really? Like the only porno I've ever watched were just like, you know, the ones that were just compilations of scenes, right? Like it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like here's a director and he, you know, paired up a guy and a girl, or, you know, a guy and, you know, 5 girls, or a girl and 10 guys, whatever the fuck it was. And it was just like, we're going to shoot this scene right now. And it's just like, and there was no, you know, there's generally no talk, no banter or anything like that. It's just like, okay, cool, we're going to fuck. And if there is any dialogue, it's usually short and it's like, all right, there's a cock in your mouth. Let's start it off. So that's it. That's my porn. But like this idea where like there was like a premise and some sort of like, you know, even if it was poorly acted or whatever, but I never watched many of those.
If it was poorly acted, yeesh.
Well, right, yeah. So that was the funniest thing about porn films, is that they even attempted to act. It's like, why do you need a plot? Why do you need a story? Like, there's no point to that. Yeah, and I think that, you know, in the later years, people figured out it's not necessary, and
completely.
Yeah, and so, you know, I don't see it anymore. I don't see, you know, story-based pornos anymore. And I don't care for them. I would never care for them. It's kind of like when I see a woman like getting fucked, I don't want to see you smiling, bitch. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't like this happy giddy shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
wow, another sharp turn I didn't see coming. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, that's the thing for me. Like, I'm just telling you how I feel, bro. Like, you know. Yeah, but like, so there's some times when I'm watching a photo, right? And like, especially on Instagram, when I'm watching some bitch like, you know, just showing her ass or something. She's got this cute little smile. I'm like, bitch, no, you need to look nasty. Like, you look nasty for me. Like I'm being ridiculous now. I realize that, but for me, it's just like, it's kind of off-putting. Like you look like you're smiling because your kid just came home from school, but you're naked. It's weird. Right. I don't.
So
you know what I mean?
So it's there's a juxtaposition there that doesn't work for you. And I get that.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. But that's just me. I'm not saying that there's anything inherently wrong with it.
Oh, it isn't just you. I actually explained that to you a few months ago, that I felt the same way. Like I'd say like, yeah, I hate it when they're smiling in the photos. It's weird. You know, like you know, you got your ass up and your tits out, and you got a finger in your pussy and you're smiling at like, stop it.
because and I think part of it is like, if I'm fucking you, right, I'm really going to town on you, and I'm working, and you're cracking a smile, I'm not doing my job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Like
I'm not saying that there should be agony in your face or anything like that. No. But like,
just make it look like you're fucking is all we're asking. That's it.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, you know, I want to see like there should be some lust in your eyes and some like, you know, and like some uncontrollable like spasming in your face because your orgasm is so intense. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see your O face.
Yeah. You know? Uncontrollable spasming in the face was where you lost me.
I hear you. I don't know how to describe it. I'm terrible at that.
I think you're describing Epstein-Barr syndrome or some shit like that.
Maybe. Maybe it's a stroke. I don't know, but it just... I'm a lot. You know.
So, yeah. So a stroke face is in your wheelhouse then.
It's definitely my alley there. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. You just remind me of that time we were having lunch on 23rd Street and we kept seeing, or maybe it was me, because I think I was facing the window, and I kept seeing people that were like crippled walking around.
Oh yes, by Lehman College. Yeah. And I was so there was a bunch of crippled people walking around, and we were outside. And
no, we realized why when we went outside, because across the street was a place like a cerebral palsy center.
Right.
Yeah.
And we didn't see that until we went inside the diner and sat down, and I said something and you cracked up laughing because you saw the sign, and it was like, oh, It's a place. I forgot how it went down though. That was pretty hilarious.
But it was basically like that. Like we were just like, why? Like it was like the time that I was on the subway in Brooklyn, and I saw a bunch of midgets, right? And I was like, it's kind of unusual to see one midget. Why am I seeing so many? And then I got above ground and I saw all the other ones. Well, I was in Brooklyn, and apparently there was a big midget convention at the Brooklyn Marriott at the time, which was just a few blocks from where I was. It was delightful because, if you remember back in the early 2000s, anytime I saw a midget on the street, I'd take a photo and send it to you.
I mean, hey, listen, I'm, it's on my bucket list to fuck a midget. So anybody,
so if you want to support this channel,
yeah, no, hey, listen, I mean, I'm 6'5", so it's kind of weird, but it's just I'm a big dude, and it's just like for some reason it's like I've always liked shorter girls. Yeah, now, I'm not against taller girls either. But just something. It's kind of like having a chihuahua. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just.
By the way, the reason why I have no problem using the word midget is because I get offended when a midget says that the word midget is just like the word nigger. Because it's like, are you sure? Because I don't remember in history class all the instances of midget lynchings. So. Right. Maybe it ain't the same, okay? Short round.
I never found anything derogatory about it.
It's a medical term.
And that's another thing. Like we talk about these like bad words all the time that, like, cause we're so goddamn childish. Everything is like, oh, this word is bad. Like, retarded is bad. It's like, that's the word. Like if you're retarded, you're retarded. Like what do you want me to do? It's like like what?
Here's what I'd like to know.
So how
are you defending when if I say the word retarded, if I'm describing something that someone did, because that's usually how I use it. Oh my God, this guy did some retarded shit, right?
Right.
If I'm talking to you, you're not retarded, I'm not retarded, and I say the word retarded and you take offense to it, who are you defending in that scenario? That's what I can never figure out. Like, what is this offense for? Who are you? Do you think that you're protecting a retarded person? Because here's the thing. The one thing I've never done is go up to a retarded person and be like, oh, you fucking retard. Right. And here's the funny thing, kind of ironic. If I did, would they even know what the fuck I was saying?
Right. And here's the other part. If I go up to the same person and say something like, hey, you mentally challenged person, how is that different? Right? Like, or if I say you're mentally delayed, whatever the fuck it is, how is that better? I'm insulting you either way, right? Like it's the same exact thing.
But it's not an insult at all, no matter which way you describe it. If you're describing a condition that someone has, like nobody gets insulted if someone says, oh, you have cancer or you have leukemia. Like, no, why don't you get insulted? Like that's a part of you also. We're talking about someone that came out to shoot or maybe had an accident or something. Their brain's not functioning correctly. And there's a word for it. One of the words for it is retarded. And for your height category, there's a word for it. There's midget, there's dwarf, whatever. If I call you a little person, does that change your life at all? Like what changes exactly?
Yeah. And I think that that too much of that has gone on to the point where I think that's not all of it, but I think that's really a significant part of why people are for Trump. And we're back to politics. God damn it. Because people got tired of the politically correct shit.
I don't even believe that at all. I've heard this explained before. I just don't buy into it.
Okay. Fair. I haven't challenged it enough to know. I mean, this is what I hear. I can't, here's the thing. If somebody tells me that this is why they voted for fucking Trump, then that's what I'm going with. Unless it's something that's obviously not correct. Like
I think that's something that people constructed after the fact, right? This is
makes sense.
You see that the person that you supported is a complete asshole.
Yeah.
You see that they're receiving a lot of criticism, but you're part of the cult, so you have to create a mythology, right? Mm-hmm. So here it is. Oh yeah, no, here's, he tells it like it is. Oh, is that the new word for lying? He's not politically correct. Is that the new word for insulting? Mm-hmm. Because if that's your criteria for voting for someone, you really are a fucking moron.
Yeah, good point.
Because that's, the only reason to vote someone into president of America is if you think they will do a good job for America, period. That's it. You don't vote because they hate who you hate. You don't vote for them because they're scared of the same people you're scared of. But again, I understand the unsophistication of it all and the stupidity of it all. But really, luckily, we had, 5 million more people that understood, and those 5 million more people translated into the right amount of electoral votes, and this national nightmare of an epically incompetent asshole is now over. And yes, he's trying to burn the building on his way out, but whatever. The Constitution has all this covered.
Yeah, indeed. Back to porno. Anyway. No, but I mean, it's just so bizarre that this it's what a time to be alive for me.
It's funny watching you scratch yourself. That's you're like a fucking silverback gorilla.
Yeah, I scratch. Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be funny if the only way that you could reach any decisions is like tugging on your balls?
Something like that. I just scratch and it sends electrical signals to my brain. I'm feeling good. It starts jogging it for me. It's like, oh, that's.
Well, let's go back to the ball tugging thing, because that's much funnier, right? Imagine someone pulls up to you on the street and says, "Oh, you know how to get to Main Street from here?" And you're just like, "Hold on a second.
Let's have a think." And just give the old balls a tug.
Oh, there's so many things that are just inappropriate, aren't
yeah. As you get older, your balls turn into silly putty, so it's really good and stretchy. You know what I mean? It's like,
why can't you walk around naked? Like when it's warm enough, when you're not gonna. I mean, of course you could choose to do harm for yourself, but if it's warm enough and you're not gonna hurt yourself, what is the purpose of putting on clothes?
Well, there's no other than civility.
Well, why is that considered not civil? Because again, when you say civility, I hear made up shit. No,
yeah, that's part of the fabricated social contract that we've come up with.
So I'm presuming that in my question. So why is that considered wrong to do? That's the thing that I'm curious to know.
I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately.
Because animals don't worry about that, right? I mean, animals don't wear clothes, but like, when you're out on the plains or you're out in the jungle or whatever, and you've got your little clan with you, whatever they call it, you're seeing your parents bang each other, right? You're seeing violence in front of you. You're seeing all these things, and in mammal society, it's like, oh no, we have to cover all those bits up for some reason. What's the reason? Oh, I don't know. It had something to do with Eve, I think.
Yeah.
It's so weird, man.
Yeah. I mean, there are practical reasons, like you said, but like you said, just as far as when it's warm and there's no need to put on clothes, then why not?
Why would you? Why do you need to do it? Why? I mean, you could actually be hauled off to jail and have to register as a sex offender just because you decided that you don't need clothes that day.
I mean, there are adult only resorts that you can walk around naked the entire time. Like, it's like, oh yeah, let's go grab a burger, and your dick is out, and everything's cool. Nobody's, like, and like society can function like that.
Of course it can. Have you ever been to Fire Island?
No, I never have.
I was there once and only once, and I was at I guess it was the gay men's side, whatever, because there's 2 islands or something, whatever. I didn't take the option to walk around naked, but when I was on the beach, I saw a bunch of guys walking by me naked.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, lightning didn't strike. The earth didn't stop spinning. Everything is okay. Like they're just naked.
Right.
And, of course, I'm considered a bear, so I was in a good place if I wanted to feel flattery. But really, it's just like I don't know what people are afraid of, especially since sexuality is such a strong part of the culture. But it's like, well, just enough sexuality. You can't be too sexual.
I don't know what that means. If I could fuck like during work, I would. Like,
of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, it's like, I don't, shit, man, a fucking lunch break orgasm would be fantastic.
Sure. And
I've had those. I know. You know what I mean? Like, especially during COVID and shit, man. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that.
Sorry. For a second, you sounded like a fucking World War II vet talking about some firefight that he had. I know.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't see the point of like all of this like pretend shit we do, but that goes back to how childish we are in a lot of ways. Like, listen, I'm okay with wearing clothes. We're gonna wear clothes. We're wearing clothes. Fuck it. You know what I mean? So that's not my biggest point, but there's a lot of stuff that we do that just doesn't make sense. The idea, like my daughter, for instance. This idea that my daughter's never going to hear curses is ridiculous, right? Like we say curse words. We use curse words. We tell her that you cannot use curse words until you understand when and how to use them, right? That's why you go to school. That's it.
Hold on. That almost sounds like that's why you go to school, is to learn when you use curse words.
Pretty much, yes, absolutely. Yeah, because that's how I learned how to use curse words. But the point is that,
wait, you have to explain that. What do you mean?
No.
In school is where you learned how to use curse word?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You ever watch South Park? That's where you learn how to use curse words.
I guess I learned them mostly at home, but my family's probably not a good example.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But my father cursed around me. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. But he also told me not to curse. And the thing about it is that, like I encourage her to learn vocabulary, to, you know what I mean? Like and she loves to read. I thank goodness she loves to read. She, hey, great. You know what I mean? So, and she has that thirst for knowledge when, that she's young now. And so, you try to teach her everything. And so she does this thing now where if she tries to repeat like the exact same thing, like somebody said with a curse word, she would repeat it verbatim. And then at the curse word, she would just substitute it with grown-up word, right? Like she just knows those are grown-up words. That's it. Right.
It's you so don't sad.
Know. Yeah. And part of it is just like, you don't know what some of those words mean. And so I encourage her you don't use a word that you don't know how to use. Right. So that's it.
So many people would never talk.
Yeah, that's true too. But I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with like curse words or anything like that. I don't see the point of having to tell somebody penis versus dick. Like we're talking about the same fucking thing. Like if I say dick, it's a dick. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what I mean? Pussy versus vagina. Like, it's like, I mean, I get that some people are going to get offended, but why are you being offended? Like, why do you feel offended if I say, like...
Because of civility.
It's, yeah, I get it. Touche.